Hi there, today we're going to look at a playful way to free up or get some mobility around the fascia of the hips, the pelvis, the lower back. So I just wanted to start by showing you this tensegrity model. So imagine if these wooden parts are the bones and the elastic parts are the soft tissue, so the fascia and the muscles, ligaments. This is how our bodies are set up. The important thing to understand about this is if I move any one piece in any direction, notice how the entire shape changes and shifts. So it doesn't matter if I pull, which would mimic a stretch or an elongation, or if I compress, everything in the entire model changes. And that's true in our bodies as well. So we often tend to get fixated on where we feel discomfort or pain. So let's say, for example, you have a tight hip or tight hips. Our focus tends to be very hip-centered and we think, I need to stretch my hip. And so we do figure four until we're blue in the face, and yet our hip never seems to get any looser and we keep having to do that figure four. It's not that the figure four is the wrong thing to do, but it may not be the only thing. Sometimes we need to take into consideration the entire chain of muscles that might be involved, not just the one or two muscles of that joint that feels tight or stiff. So that's what we're going to do today. So you're going to come down onto your hands and knees. Go a bit on a diagonal so you can see. So we're going to start, and you know what we should do actually? Why don't we just do, you can go ahead right onto the floor and just do a figure four on each side, just to get a feel for how much freedom of movement do you have there today, and or you can do a butterfly position and just notice how much freedom you do or don't have on the right and left sides, and we'll compare that after. So then come to your 4-point position. So equal weight on the hands and knees. And you're going to start by doing a regular cat-cow. So you're going to press into the floor with the hands, the knees, the shins, the feet, round the whole spine, and do the opposite, extend the whole spine. My spine is fused at the bottom, so you won't see much rounding in the lumbar, but for yourself, try to make that curve equal throughout the entire length of your spine. And do it one more time and just really notice, how do your hips feel? How does your pelvis feel? How does your spine feel in terms of how much freedom you do or don't have, how much tension you do or don't have? Then we're going to do a circular cat-cow. So try not to get into your head too much on this one because it makes it very uncoordinated. But if you just kind of play and go with it, it goes much better. So you're going to be circling the head and tail as you go through your cat-cow. Do 2 or 3 in one direction, 2 or 3 in the opposite, and really focus on how it feels. How much freedom or how much tension do or don't you have in the hips, pelvis, lower back, whole spine actually. So now we do the part that's to free it up. So you're going to cross the left leg directly behind the right. So really tuck the knee one behind the other. You're going to change your hands now so that you create a tripod out of your 2 hands and the 2 knees. Now we're going to do the exact same cat-cow. So press into the floor with your hands, shins, knees, and feet. And then extend, go at your own rhythm, 3 or 4, back and forth. And notice now that we've taken up some of the slack throughout that whole lower extremity, how does it change your cat-cow? How does it feel now in your hips, your pelvis, your lower back? And then go ahead and do a circular cat-cow, which might feel entirely different now that you've taken up slack through the chain of the lower extremity. Pause in the center, and then from here, you're going to walk your hands back, allow that front knee to float off the ground, and come to a point where you still got your fingertips on the floor. So we're going to just pause here for a couple of breaths. I like to call this one the pretzeled child's pose. Make sure that your weight is equally between your 2 hands. Your sit bones are parallel to the floor. Let's do one more breath here. And slowly walk the hands out. Uncross. You know what, let's for fun come to our butterfly position. And just notice, so we've only done one side. Notice if you see a change. For me, I've got a nice change on that right side, and we'll come back and do the other one. So find your 4-point position. This time we're gonna cross the right leg behind the left, really tuck the back knee behind the front knee. Change your hands now so that you create this tripod, this triangular shape between your two hands and the front knee. And then go for your cat-cow. And you're really trying to notice when you've taken up the slack through that lower extremity, how does it change the feeling, the sensation in your cat-cow? 3 or 4 of your regular cat-cow, and then let's do 2 to 3 of your circular cat-cow in each direction. Try to keep your pelvis centered between the two hands throughout the whole thing. For me, when I'm crossed this way, I can barely figure out my circular pattern. It's quite something. Pause in the middle, and then you're gonna walk your hands back. Allow that front knee to float off the ground, but keep your sit bones centered between your two hands, parallel to the floor. And a couple of soft, slow, smooth breaths in this pretzeled child's pose. One last breath. Come on out of that, and let's check in one last time. You can either check in with your figure 4 that you had done at the beginning, or with your butterfly, and note the change. So that's not the only thing that we should do for tight hips. I had posted it under a video last week, I think, on the strengthening that is important. So it would be interesting to combine the strengthening of that previous video with the release of this one and see how you feel pre and post doing those two. I hope it gives you some freedom in those hips.